You ever live somewhere that just didn't feel right? Not in a haunted house kind of way, well, not at first. No slamming doors, no cold spots, just a slow drip, a feeling, a shift. Like the walls were leaning in a little closer each day, like the place was watching you. I live in Millcreek, nondescript building, beige siding, thin walls, third-floor walk-up. But the rent was cheap and I didn't mind the thin walls. I lived alone, so it was quiet. Usually, my neighbor was this older guy named Fritz. Mid-60s, maybe. Always wore these threadbare sweaters no matter the season. Had this old briefcase he carried even though he didn't seem to work anymore. He was odd, but not in a threatening way. Quiet, polite. We'd nod in the hallway, exchange the kind of small talk you immediately forget. Nothing about him ever screamed danger. But one night, as I was coming home from work, things shifted. I was unlocking my door when I heard footsteps behind me, fast, uneven. I turned, and there was Fritz, coming down the hallway like he'd been running for blocks. Sweat soaked his collar. His eyes, wild, glassy, like he hadn't blinked in hours. He stopped just short of me, gasping, and then he whispered, shaking,
"They're coming."
He didn't wait for a response, just turned and walked into his apartment, slamming the door shut behind him. I stood there for a long time, keys still in the door. That night I couldn't sleep. Not just because of what he'd said, but because of the noises. It started slow, furniture scraping, a low thud like something hitting the wall. I tried to brush it off. Old buildings make noise. But then came the shouting, loud, desperate. I could hear him pacing his unit, muttering to himself, sometimes yelling at someone. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Panic. And then, during the day, he started spending time in the building's yard, just standing there. Not doing anything, pacing, watching. And if anyone got close, delivery drivers, neighbors, the mailman, he'd yell,
"Get out! You shouldn't be here. It's not safe."
By the third week, Fritz had moved into the hallway. Literally. Pillows, blankets. A lamp plugged into the wall socket. He'd sit there all night whispering to himself. Sometimes crying. Sometimes laughing. I wanted to call someone, but who? The landlord? The cops? Would they even do anything? And then one night, it all stopped. I came home from work. The hallway was clean, no blankets, no Fritz. I felt a flicker of relief. Maybe he'd been taken in. Maybe someone had helped him. That night, I went to bed early. Slept for the first time in weeks. Until the noise was back. But it was worse. Lower. Closer, like something alive was in the walls. And then, the smell. I opened the windows, took out the trash, cleaned the drains. But it didn't help. It clung to everything. The next morning, I left for work, but I stopped in my tracks. Fritz's door was open. Wide open. I should have walked away. I know that now. But something drew me in. The apartment was a wreck. Broken furniture, torn curtains, shattered glass across the floor. And the smell. So much worse inside. I don't know why I walked further in. I think I just wanted to know, was he okay? That's when I saw it. The journal. Lying open on the floor like it had been thrown there. I picked it up and I started to read. Journal entry, June 3rd. I can't breathe in here anymore. The air smells wrong. I scrubbed the walls again today, but the stench won't leave. It's in the vents, in the carpet, in me. It follows me when I sleep. It clings to my teeth and grows on my tongue. Every breath tastes like rot. But no one else smells it. I asked the guy across the hall. He just looked at me funny. Journal entry, July 7th. I should have listened. She said she heard them. my wife. She said they were whispering in the walls, said they watched the kids while they slept. I didn't believe her. I told her to rest. I had a deadline. Just one more contract to sign. She called me at 7:42 p.m. I didn't answer. When I got home, she was in the kitchen. The kids were in their beds. Cold. Still. Smiling. Dead. Journal entry, August 1st. I saw her again today, just a glimpse. The smell of her perfume. Heard her laugh. Found her robe hanging on the back of the bathroom door. But I burned that robe. I know I burned it. Then I heard them. The kids. Their laughter echoes from the kitchen. It's not joyful, it's hungry. They lead me from room to room, giggling. But when I follow, there's nothing. Just shadows slipping out of reach. Journal entry, August 13th. She was cooking dinner again. I could smell it. Meat, herbs. It smelled real, felt warm. When she turned around, she had no face, just skin. Smooth, stretched, and grinning. I screamed. She laughed. She doesn't leave now. Journal. Entry, August 18th. The shadows are watching me. I see them in the TV, in the windows. They move when I don't. They don't blink. One of them whispered today. It sounded like my son, but he's dead. He's dead. Journal entry, August 25th. I sleep in the hallway. I can't go back in. It's waiting in there, behind the bedroom door. It keeps it cracked, just wide enough to peek out. Journal entry, August 26th. I made a mistake. I let it in. I opened something I shouldn't have. It wears her now. Speaks in her voice, but it says things. Things she never would. It tells me what it did to her, to the kids. I can't feel my hands anymore. My voice sounds wrong, like something is crawling inside my throat when I talk. I'm in the closet now. I lock the door, but I hear it laughing. I think it's under the floor. I think I'm melting. That was the last entry. I dropped the journal and called the police. They said what you'd expect, possible psychotic break, probably fled the city, maybe even self-harm. But they didn't have any answers about the marks inside the closet. Burns scorched into the floorboards. In the shape of a face, screaming. And it's not over. 2 weeks ago, I was brushing my teeth when I heard it again. Scratching. Slow. Deliberate. Like fingernails. I followed it through the apartment. It moved from room to room. It stopped. At the wall I share with Fritz's place. And then...
I'll see you soon.
It was his voice. But it wasn't him. I still live here. I don't sleep much. And sometimes when I stare at that wall long enough, I think I can see it, breathing.